Imagine this. You've been cordially invited to a private masquerade auction and have just pulled up to a beautiful 3-story Victorian-style house. The kind of house a wealthy politician or businessman would have. You enter the house and are greeted by a group of very well-dressed men and women wearing masks and are handed a ticket with a number on it. The group eventually makes their way into a grand study. In the study, there are several pillars with display cases on them. As you approach each of the cases, you see one containing a painted picture of a clown, one with a leather-bound book, and another with a pair of reading glasses. Each of these items has a starting bid price ticket on them. The bidding ticket for each of these items reads as follows. The painting, $14,000. The book, $10,000. And the pair of glasses, $75,000. You suddenly hear a voice from the crowd say, "Ladies and gentlemen, please let us begin this year's 10th annual serial killer memorabilia auction. The first item on our list this evening will be a lovely painting of Pogo the Clown, painted by none other than Mr. John Wayne Gacy." Where are you? You're attending an actual high society auction for serial killer items, a painting by Mr. John Wayne Gacy, cooking book signed by Jeffrey Dahmer, and a pair of glasses worn by none other than Ted Bundy. It sounds like the beginning of some sort of fictional crime thriller novel or the beginning of a horror film, doesn't it? Well, would it interest you to know that it's not? It is real, and that it happens all the time. Serial killers have this sort of fascinating grip on society. Every time we think of them or hear about them, we feel weird, odd, get cold shivers up our spine. We ask ourselves the two leading questions, why and how. But we focus so much on the subject and the why and how that we don't actually see what's happening around the subject. The ramifications of serial killers' actions and the mere existence they pose on society. Like, what about people who admire serial killers, who have fan clubs dedicated to them, or even cults who worship them? All of these do actually exist. And in this particular podcast, we're not going to cover all of them. We're going to cover just one, murderabilia. Hi guys, welcome back to Profile Matters. This is the episode titled Killer Culture. I'm your host, Cameron. Sorry it's been so long, been busy. I'll wrap up at the end and I'll tell you guys everything I've been working on. In tonight's episode, we're actually going to be talking to another guest star, which I've been very fortunate to have so many people willing to be on the show. I'm very excited. The guy I've got on here tonight, his name is Peter, and he actually sells murderabilia. I was very lucky to get some items from him. I don't really collect. It was my first thing that I've ever really gotten, but it was like a lot of letters, which was good because it kind of gave me a glimpse to the mind of some of these, serial killers that we talk about and stuff like that. So it was very interesting. And it was fortunate enough because it got me talking with Peter, and Peter's a very nice guy, very cool. I haven't talked to him personally over the phone yet, but we're friends on Facebook, and we've been texting and everything like that, and he seems like a really nice guy. So I'm super excited to have him on here tonight. I'm going to ask him a couple questions. We've got about 15, 16 questions for him. Nothing too fancy, but just a couple basic things, talking to him about, these things that he sells and why he does it, and it's just some of the things that he's come across as he's been doing this. So I hope you guys are excited for this. If you're not, I do apologize, but I think this is going to be really cool. We got some really cool stuff coming down the pike too as well. So just keep an eye out for that, or an ear out, I should say. So I'm going to stop talking because this just fucking sucks. Like, what about people who admire serial killers, who have fan clubs dedicated to them, or even cults who worship them? All of these do actually exist. But in this particular podcast, we're not going to cover all of those. From steer-struck, blah, blah, blah. Like, what about people who admire serial killers, who have fans dedicated to them, or even cults who worship them. All of these do exist. But we're not going to start off with the serial struck admiring fans in secret elite circles who worship them. We're actually going to start off at the very beginning. Murderabilia. What is the fascination with it? On tonight's episode of Profile Matters, titled Killer Culture, we're going to discuss that. Hi guys, welcome back to Profile Matters. This is your host Cameron speaking. Sorry for the long spiel, just wanted to get you guys psyched up for tonight's episode. I hope it's as interesting to you as it is to me. I'm going to talk about a few things, but before I jump into the rest of the stuff, I'll actually close off with everything I'm going to say. But we've got an interesting guest star here tonight, a guy named Peter. I'm actually good friends with him. I met him a couple months ago when I ordered some murderabilia, actually. Never done anything like that before. Felt kind of strange doing it. Really did. Felt kind of, But it was good. All of the stuff that I got, it was a lot of letters and stuff like that mostly. And it was actually pretty cool because I got to put them all, I put them on this big binder. And my, Jessica, my fiance, always jokes, it's the unholy Bible is what she always says. But I use it as a tool, like a reference guide, to go back in and to read some of these letters that they sent him or other people that he got a hold of, because it's just interesting to hear them talk on their own play. Because some of these people, these letters, it was like they were just talking to their grandma or grandpa. It was crazy. But then there was other letters where you could definitely tell you were talking to somebody who was not all there. And that, again, the psychology behind all of it is just completely fascinating to me. So, when I asked Peter if he would be on the show, he jumped at the opportunity, and I was ecstatic because, I get to have him talk about it. And he sells items and collects, and it's a big deal to him. And it's a big deal to me that he actually, agreed to be on here tonight. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Entitled Killer Culture. And I'll cover a few things at the end, like, movies and books that cover serial killers in case you guys are wanting to branch out and listen to other things, watch other things, read other things. There's a lot out there, not just about serial killers, but killers in general, things like that. And not so much so you can be a fan, but so you can learn from it. As we talked about in an episode with Dr. Nighting, how to avoid them, or just to better educate yourself, because it is a very taboo subject, yes, but it's something that does happen, and, it's always better to be informed than not, right? Anyways, I'll stop rambling on, and I'm going to go ahead and cut to our conversation that we're having with Peter here in a second. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode of Profile Matters, and I'll be back with you guys here in a little bit. So let's slice this open and start poking around.
Well, I guess we'll go ahead and jump on in.
All right.
So, all right, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, Peter.
I'm born and raised in Canada. Mm-hmm. You guys will probably pick up on the accent. Let's see. Usually, me and my girlfriend, Rachel, we've been dating for about just over 5 years now. We like to travel a lot. We got 3 cats and a dog, which is kind of excessive, but she, love makes you do crazy things. we moved up together about 3 years ago. Got an apartment downtown where we live, but she brought her 1 house cat from her mom's, and then 1 more trickled in, and another trickled in, and then once April rolled around last year, all of a sudden we have a Boston Terrier, and I was like, okay, well, when does it end, I mean, I love him. I'm more of a cat guy, so I'm cool with that. But the dog is, I like her. She's a handful, but she's cute. Yeah, I like collecting a lot of horror movies. Of all kinds, the new stuff, old stuff. On DVD and VHS, I got like a huge collection. It's actually a whole spare bedroom dedicated to it, and it's actually becoming a gigantic mess now because I have no more room. It's a sick obsession. Yeah, and in the last couple of years, I got into like collecting oddities too, like weird stuff, wet specimens. I got a lot of human. Well, actually, I sold and traded a lot of human skulls and finger bones and like teeth and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. For like murderabilia stuff, I think I'm on my third or fourth year, I guess, doing that kind of stuff. I don't know. I live kind of just a regular life, and I feel like work consumes it, so stuff like that kind of gets in the way. It's kind of a bummer, really, growing up. Really is a trap.
God, it really is, isn't it? I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, man, it's such a pain. Like, I think back now. I just moved into my study. I moved our TV, and we had an extra room over into the study, and I brought in my PS2, my old PS2, and I'm like digging through our collection of like video games and movies.
Oh man!
I found Kingdom Hearts in there. I'm like, I'm gonna play the heck out of that this weekend.
That happened to me when I was. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I just remember when I was, in high school, that was like my biggest thing. I was ready to get home after school so I could just play video games. Resident Evil,
oh yeah,
all of them. And I would just sit there, and then they were doing that thing. They were like, oh, Resident Evil came out this year, 1998. And I'm like, they're making it sound like that was years ago. But you look at the graphics, and you're like, my God, they've come a long
I know,
way.
it's crazy. I remember thinking like, I was a big Tony Hawk Pro Skater player.
Oh, yes.
And like Mortal Kombat and stuff, and then I thought, oh, the graphics are crazy, back in like the 90s and early 2000s. But then all of a sudden, like these games come out now, and these guys got like, you can see their 5 o'clock shadows in the hockey games. Like the graphics are crazy. It's bizarre. Growing up does suck. Definitely does. It's not fun to reminisce on it.
Yeah. Would you say, how would you say that, that you got into, how did this kind of start with the murderabilia thing? How did that just did it just like come about? Was it something that kind of triggered it? I know that you said, have you always because I've always been into horror movies and stuff, and then that kind of led me into the whole journalism thing, and that led me into podcasting, and then it was just about true crime, and the next thing you know, it was just serial killers on the brain. So,
next thing you know, you're best friends with these guys, eh?
Yeah, exactly, right. So, how would you say for you that it started?
I remember it specifically. It was, I think it was about 4 years ago, and it was around the same time I was getting into the oddity kind of world there. And I was on, I believe, Instagram, and I think I followed quite a few pages of different shops around, like, the States and stuff, and a couple of, like, local people and Canadian people. And there was this one shop, I don't know where it was, from Boston or something. It was called Pandora's Box or something like that, but they posted that they had these little vials of five vials of one strand of Charles Manson's hair. And I thought, oh man, I just like to collect like just whatever is weird. I go, oh yeah, no, I need to have that. It's kind of cool. So I was like, wow, and they're charging $50, and I thought, that's expensive, but when else are you ever going to come across that? Because I didn't think, like, at the time, no murderabilia like existed. So I was like, oh, okay, well, this is bizarre. Like, I need to get it. So I was one of the lucky 5 to scoop one of those up, and I don't know. I just like looked at it and I was like, oh, this is like a weird piece of something to have. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like a little piece of history kind of thing. It's just, I don't know, like Charles Manson. You see him all over the place. He's on T-shirts, for God's sakes. Like. So I get this, and I buy a frame for it, and I put the little hair in there, and print off a cool little picture from Google Images on there, and then I put the COA on the bottom, and I had that up on my wall, and I thought, that's pretty cool. And then even then, I didn't know murderabilia like existed. Even then, I was just like, okay, that's it. I don't know how exactly I got in like full-fledged. But I do remember going onto a website. I don't know how I found it, but that's what led to it. I think it was Murder Auction, one of the few websites that exist. And so I'm scrolling along there, and I'm like losing my mind. I'm like, oh my God! Here I'm thinking of Charles Manson here. I mean, I'm not the biggest Charles Manson fan. I bought it because it was just weird, but like there's way better stories out there, So I'm going through, and I'm like, oh, like a John Wayne Gacy painting, and Jeffrey Dahmer's friggin' Christmas card, and there's like all these people, and I'm like, oh my God! But the prices were like, I was like, I'm never gonna afford these, like $4,000 for a Pogo the Clown, like, I'm like, oh cool, I guess it was a window shop for the rest of my life. But then I kind of went into, like, the menu part, and I found other killers, and I saw Keith Jesperson, who, when I was, like, 16, I read his book, Creation of I think it's called Creation of a Serial Killer, on the way to Virginia years ago. Like, I think I was, like, 18 or something. So I read his book, and it always stuck with me. And I thought, it was one of my favorite stories. And I saw a letter from him, and some dude was, I don't know, it was like a bid or something for like $30. And I was like, oh, I need that. Like, that's crazy. Like, it blew my mind that, like, you know, you could buy these. So I bid, and at the time, I won the bid, and I'm the only person that bid it. And I thought that was bizarre because I was so excited. I was like, well, why does nobody else want this? But, you know, years later, you realize Keith Jesperson, you can easily rate that guy and get a reply in 2 weeks. So I was like, but at first I'm like, oh my god, like it's a jackpot, like nobody wanted it. Yeah, I got slipped through the crack. so I get this, you know, this piece of mail in the mail, and and I just look at it. I'm like, wow, like I don't know. I just felt like I went one step closer to, like, I don't know, like getting into like his story. Like I read it, it's always stuck with me throughout the years. And then I saw like a card from him, and it's signed and stuff. I thought, oh, this guy like touched it. Like I was getting creepy about it, you know, like, oh, he touched it. This guy's a killer. Like at first, and I was like, you know, I just thought it was so cool. So of course I hung that piece up, and I was like, ooh, like look at me. And you know, my friends come over and they give me the look, like, you know, am I gonna get out of this place alive or so?
So I mean, yeah, I mean,
that's kind of how it went. It went from there, and then it snowballed. I found other websites, and then now here I am today.
Well, I mean, you know, it's funny because a lot of people, you know, to touch base on what you just said, a lot of people collect things that most people might not like, you know, and some people that, you know, they might collect something that other people do like. You know, I have a friend of mine. He is almost 30, and he still collects those little Matchbox cars, like the one, like Hot Wheels. He still collects those.
I got a friend like that too. Everybody has a friend like that.
See, and I've got two sitting up here that I've had ever since I was little, but he collects them like a religion. Like he collects.
Oh my god! Yeah, my buddy is going further than your friend. I think he buys them, he takes them apart, and he makes his own cars. Man, he's 29 years old. He's 29. I go to him to Walmart, and I'm following him. We're walking by like the big boy section and the frozen food section. All of a sudden, he's going to the toys. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, yeah, man, I'm looking for a couple of these cars, man. I'm going to take them apart and build my own. I was like, what are you doing? Then he always complains he doesn't have a girlfriend. And I'm like, well, Jesus, like, you know, like, what do you got all these girls here, and they're looking at you like, oh, cool, like a man baby playing with his toys. Cool. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. He's a big car guy. Like, he's a, you know, he works for, like, a big car company, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I get it, but I don't at the same time. Like, why are you building your own cars? Like, that's why Mattel exists. They're doing it for you, man.
Exactly.
Like, get out of here.
It's just like that, you know. It's the same thing where there are people that collect all sorts of stuff that some people might think it's weird, other people think it's hilarious, some people might think it's creepy, but everybody collects something because they have a personal a meaning to them at some point.
Yeah,
you know?
Like a link to it, like you kind of
exactly. Like you were saying, like when you touched it, you felt like you were a part of that story because in a way you were. And
exactly.
That makes all the difference. It really does. I mean, whether or not you're collecting something from, and that's something that's always, that interested me from before I even got into this was when I would read stories about, like Ed Gein, when after he passed, you know, like they took his car, somebody had taken his car back before they burned down his house. Because that was a big thing. Like the real notorious murders, it seems like they get rid of the houses, like for sure. Like you think of Dahmer's apartment, they bulldozed it. They got everybody out of the bulldozed apartment. John's house, they got rid of his house completely, leveled it.
I think they built a new one right above it, changed the address or something.
The only place I know that's still there, as far as I remember, is the place where Ted Bundy spent a lot of his years, and that place is still around. I think they turned it. I think that place they turned it into like a. It's like you can go there and stay every once in a while. But like a lot of places, they did. A lot of places did make it.
Like his childhood home, or.
It was. I think it was a place that he stayed with Stephanie, that girlfriend he had that he's on and off with. It was an apartment that he rented out from an older couple that lived there.
Yep.
And he spent many, many years there, and that place is still there. But all the other places, they go the way of the dinosaur when it happens, so it's hard to get a hold of any type of anything, especially with Bundy for sure, because they've earned a lot of his belongings. So you need to see some
I
of
know, what's that? Yeah, I know what you mean though, taking it. That's, even now I feel like with, well actually going back to Bundy, I know the Chi Omega's house is still up there, I think too though, which is kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. But I know with like cases like Anthony Solo and Ariel Castro from Cleveland, I know I watched like interviews and news clippings and stuff and videos of like how they demolished it because people were, going there trying to take pieces off the house and what have you, right? And it's caused like this big tourist attraction, which I get it, but at the same time you've got, especially the neighborhood where Anthony killed all those ladies of the night, if you will. And, that whole, they were kind of a community, so, it's really sad to see those people taking it, going there and grabbing pieces and thinking it's cool when people right next to them are crying because they lost their daughter or their, you know what I mean, their sister. Exactly. So, I get it. It's, I get why to do it, and beat the rush of the people trying to, I don't know, make a buck off of, some guy porch, pieces of wood from his porch, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly. And that's what, it's interesting because it's no different than people that, collect, or something that's been autographed by another person or anything else like that. It's a piece of history.
Well, that's what I say with the Nazi, people sell Nazi memorabilia all the time.
Exactly.
I mean, I know that's a really big piece of history, and it's like, it's changed, it's paved the way to today. Like, I get it. But, like, it's the same thing. Like, the Nazis killed how many people? I mean, you got guys, I've been to shops where they're selling, like, badges and helmets and, like, swastika armbands from these people, Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, this guy probably, split the throats of 12-year-olds and did whatever the hell he did with them, And it's like, in my mind, I go, okay, so I write a killer,
Yeah,
I kind of think it's kind of the same thing, but...
Yeah, and it's,
but people will fight that to the death. I know there's people that like trying to ban the whole murderabilia and make it illegal and all that stuff. But I mean, I get it. I feel like if my, family member was stalked and killed by a psycho, I'd probably be singing a different tune. You know what I mean? Like I probably wouldn't be collecting this kind of stuff.
Exactly. And
like I see both sides. Yeah, I see the collector side. I see the, the more serious, sad side.
And that's good. I mean, that's good that that because there are some people that aren't like that. They're just, this is all like this, or this is all like this.
Oh yeah.
You're seeing it from the gray, and I had a woman I interviewed last time. Her name's Kay, and she, is engaged, or she's pretty much married to a killer on death row, or serial killer on death row, and. When I was talking to her about it, that's one thing I told her. I said, it's very difficult for anybody to approach a subject in gray anymore. Most people, it's just all black and white. And it's really difficult. There's a very select people, I'd say, and if I had to put it in percentage of the world, there's maybe 30% of the world that's really like that anymore, which is sad. And you got to be open-minded, on both sides because, it's a tough thing.
It is. It's hard. It's hard to justify. People be like, oh, like, why do you do this? Like, a lot of people go, oh, it's really cool. Then there's those people like, like, why? Like, they question me, like, why do you do it? Like, how do you think the mom feels of the daughter, so-and-so raped and killed? And I go, like, and that's what makes me go, yeah, like, it's kind of bullshit to write these people, you know what I mean? But at the same time, then you're like, oh, but it's like, it's the news coverage of Jeffrey Dahmer, and he makes him seem like he's just a monster. He's always a monster. That's all he is. But then when you talk to him or another inmate, a serial killer, then you kind of realize, oh yeah, well this guy is a human, he is normal, but he's got this little, this little problem.
Exactly, and that was one big thing that it's funny that you said it because that was another thing I talked about where it's an addiction what they have, and he was the first killer to ever say it was an addiction.
Right, and I think for the most case, it is. It's a compulsion that they fight off for a long time, and eventually it takes over them. Like Dahmer usually had to get like drunk to,
even do it. Exactly.
To face himself to even do it. So yeah, I mean, And then there's the ones that just don't, like, I've talked to killers that just, like Philip Jablonski, like, he'll write pages and pages to me of just, you know, spooning people's eyes out, the way a nipple tastes when he eats it, and, you know, how to abduct a child. He went off on that stuff, and that's kind of, that was a little much for me. I was like, okay, well, I don't really know about your fantasies about kidnapping children, but thank you.
In a way, I would say keeping that stuff around, for me, I've got that stuff that you sent me, which I've got it in, I mentioned this at the beginning of the thing where I tell people about it. My fiance calls it the Black Bible. She goes, your Black Bible. What it is, I used all that, the letters you gave me, I stuck it in, I put them in a big, huge binder, and I printed off pictures of each person, and then I looked them up, and then their stories, and then the stuff that you sent me, and I put it all in this big thing, and it's all alphabeticalized and everything, and I've got it up on our show that we use for our true crime research, and I use that as a template to go in as a way to get into their mindset and to kind of help even me out. When I look at those letters or anything else that I see, I can see both sides, and it's almost like I'm seeing the bad thing about keeping it around and the good thing about keeping it around, because I'm getting a glimpse behind the worst side of humanity that there is, but I'm, in a way, I'm on the other side, so I can you know, it just keeps me even out. And
yeah, you're not in the situation, you're an outsider, so you can see, like, both playing fields, you know, you see right down the middle. You go, okay, there's the people who are against it and they're grieving, and there's people against other sides of people that are kind of like, oh, it's fascinating, like, I want to know, you know, I want to see what this guy is really, not what the tabloids and the YouTube clips and the A&E documentaries say, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
These people are, you know, for the most part, they were fathers, you know, husbands, brothers, and, you know, so they're normal people for the most part. It's just, you know, that compulsion or that that little problem in their brain that makes them want to harm innocent people. But you know what I mean? It's good to see both sides. Like,
it is. You got to remain objective.
Right. Exactly.
What would you say in your collection? Sorry, I get on tangents sometimes.
Oh no, I'm one to ramble. Like you cut me off when I'm rambling, because I can go. Sometimes I'll ramble till like you fall asleep. I'll put you to sleep.
I'm the same way.
I don't think you guys are going to the movies. You should go tell your wife you're not going. Be like, honey, go to bed. I'll see you tomorrow.
What would you say that the strangest thing is that you've ever sold to anybody?
Strangest thing. The strange things I like to keep, but there is there was this one piece I had last year that I bought. I saw it and I thought, oh, I've never seen that, and I need it. And it was, it was a Jeremy Jones. He's not a huge notorious guy, but he was a serial killer, I believe, in like, I don't know, Alabama or something. And he has nudes that were, before he was convicted and arrested, he had this, you know, this picture of him holding his wiener. And it's on the larger side, all right? So he for his female, you know, fans, he likes to trace it. So so this guy had his tracing of what he calls Jeremy Jones' nickname. He calls it the curve because it gives this little curvature to the left.
Oh my God, I've heard of that. Yeah. Okay, I did hear of this. Okay.
So, you know, it must have been in a whole letter, because I bought this piece from him. So I thought, geez, I need it. and so it you know, it's got it. It says, can you handle the curve? And it has the tail end of the note. But the part that really, really got me, because I've seen a couple of Dick tracings hanging around, but this one was just detailed, like right to the vein. But this one was riddled with his semen. He blew all over it.
Oh, whoa.
So it was this huge spray of yellow. When I got it, it was nice and dry. Yellow, just spray wash over it. It really tied the whole piece together. And
oh my God.
So I thought, God, I need that. That's just so bizarre. I've never seen that. So I bought it, and I had it for a few months, and then I thought, at the time, I think I was going somewhere, like on vacation. I thought, oh, I could just sell a couple of pieces and make a couple $100 real quick instead of saving all of it. You know what I mean? Like, so the guy got it off of Andrew, who runs a true crime auction house. He saw that I posted, and he's like, oh, like, you know, I had a couple other things up, and he's like, oh, I'll do like a trade with you. I'll, you know, trade me back the Jeremy Jones dong and something else. I got this and this. I said, yeah, go ahead, just take it. And then after that, so I guess I didn't really sell it, but I traded it back. But I mean, I don't know. It just, later I found I had HIV too, so it's kind of bizarre, you know, to hang on to that for a while, you know. Usually I frame the cool parts, but that one I was like, you know, when my mom comes over and wonders why I've got this dong tracing, a big veiny porno style with a friggin', you know, with the icing on top of the cake, like, you know, I was like, well, I kept it in my binder for a while, and then that was it. But stuff that I sell, I usually keep the weird stuff. I mean, hair is, I feel like, pretty weird. When you think about it, like, I go, oh, yeah, I got this guy's hair. Like, I don't care. But when I sit down and look at it and think about it, I go, this guy I have a murderer's hair.
What would you say the most valuable thing you have in your collection is? I know you said that you've got the first, I'm sure you still have the Charles Manson thing.
The hair?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's times I contemplated on selling it, but I thought, I don't know, it was my first piece, you know? I thought, I don't know, like, it's cool, like, I like it, I don't know. You get attached, I guess. Same with, like, when I write killers, like, I always keep the first letter they give me. Because it's just, like, you know, it's the intro, it's the gateway to the devil, pretty well, you know? But,
like, I think it was what was it, I mentioned it towards the end of this, in the thing, but I don't know if I'd ever told you. Well, I have a 1957, it was a full paper. They were selling it on Amazon, and I don't know what, I just scrolled across it, and it had got, like, a lot of people were interested in it, and I guess people were bidding really low to get to that, you know, to wait to the last minute to bid high and then get it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I saw it, and it was like a second or two before it was going to go, so I bid like an extra $3, and I got it, and I was surprised because it was only like $90, but it was a 1957 full paper, like newspaper with all the, like, I mean, and these papers back in 1957 were freaking huge, like they're the size of like posters, like you have for movies.
Yeah, so you had like everything, like every page, not just like the front cover that it was.
Every page.
And who was it for?
Ed Gein.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, oh my God, this was they Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Psycho, all that stuff was based upon his story. And I'm like, that's insane. Well, I put it up on one of the sites just to kind of show, like, hey, look, this is one of the things that I have because I'd had it for a while. And somebody offered me $5,000 for that. That's when I knew I'm like, yeah, I can't sell that. I'm like, because, I mean, someone was going to give me $5,000 for that. And I'm like,
not unless you're in a real tight pickle, man.
Yeah. So I was like, hold on. It's the only thing that I ever had other than the stuff that you gave me. And I'm like, well, you know what? Because I had my interviews, and those are kind of like my collections. So I was like, you know, I'm going to hold on to this. This is probably my one real true piece that I collected. Yeah. And I'm going to keep it. So
yeah, for sure. That's a good call. That's cool, though. Somebody offered you that much. I didn't even know they went. I thought they went. I mean, I know they're more than $90, so you got to steal, but cause I've seen them go for like $2 or I don't know. That's crazy. I mean, it's the whole newspaper, though, so I think that's the part that
helps,
you know,
too.
Because sometimes you get the cutouts and the cutout piece of the front page.
Oh,
the whole paper, like that's wow.
And it was in great condition. Like, I even thought about getting it laminated at one point. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm going to frame the whole thing and just set it up there. I folded it to I turned the paper around to flip to the page, fold it back, and framed it on that one spot.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's I'd hold on to that for sure.
What was yours? Like, because I saw that you had some really good pieces from what I saw in the pictures you sent me.
I've got a couple of pretty good pieces. I mean, like, you're talking about, like, value-wise, like...
Yeah, what was the rarest thing that you do have?
I'd say it's a toss between... I mean, the Gacy painting or the Gacy Christmas card I just recently got in a trade with a full signature, which is good. I'm dying for one of those. But, that's worth a good bit of money, but it's, I guess, not rare. But a rare thing I've got is probably the Shawcross seatbelt from his car that I believe he did at least one murder in it, but he did pick up a lot of hookers in it and it did the deed in the back seat. So I know the guy who has the whole car, so he sold me the belt for a really good price. And obviously I had to have that, so I got that a year or two ago or something like that. But it's a good piece. It's really cool. it's kind of haunting. You look at it and you go, yeah, like bad things happen on this thing, you know, like it's weird.
We only actually have a couple more questions because we pretty much, we got everything that we needed to cover. And the first couple things was actually good. So
yeah,
that's why I like when we write out these questions because sometimes they bleed into each other. So when you're answering, it'll
yeah.
Another one. That's why I love it.
I've noticed that I answer like 5 questions in one answer.
Yeah, which is good. That's good. What do you think about? There was one thing I remember I came across on a forum when I was doing research on this, and doing research on any kind of, serial killer fan site stuff is very difficult because they're very hard to pinpoint because they're very secretive. So, a friend of mine was like, hey, he had said that he actually attended it was like an auction, kind of like, it was black tie, very formal, where people were selling stuff like that. And I mean, have you ever heard of anything like that? Because I mean, this was just his account, and I mean, I'd never heard of anything like that before. But I mean, it made sense that I would think that people on the higher end, I guess you would say, like higher end of society, that didn't want to be, going out there and doing it in public would attend, these little events and do stuff like that. I mean, do you think that those exist?
When you sent me these questions, I read that and I thought, I've never thought of that. But you're saying this guy actually went to one?
He said he went to one.
And they're selling like murderabilia, like serial killer stuff?
They were selling some high-profile stuff. Yeah, he said there was a cooking book that had been signed by Jeffrey Dahmer. There was one of the Pogo paintings. And there was a pair of Ted Bundy wore a lot of glasses in court, different pairs, like the reading glasses. Well, there was a pair of reading glasses, and the reading glasses were selling for like almost $70,000, like a lot of money.
I've seen pictures of them on like Murder Auction. I mean, I know the guy who runs that. People think he has a lot of fake stuff, but I've seen them, and they look really crazy. I don't know if it's real or not, but those might be the same ones that guy saw.
Yeah, I mean, and he said that they were out on display cases where he went. He said they were doing like a Halloween party. They all went, and it was like a masquerade ball type thing. Which that's just how I started up my introduction when I bring in everybody into the episode. Was I mentioned, what if you went to something like this, and that's what his account was. So I mean, he said that it happened. I would be naive to think that it doesn't. So I was just curious if you thought that you had ever heard anything or came across something like that. So.
I've never heard that until now. And I go, like, part of me feels like you said, well, I'm a yes and no, but I say no because I go, you could easily just go online and buy it, and it's pretty anonymous, you know what I mean? You don't have to post it on social media, right? So it's like, why have these secretive high society meetings? But at the same time, I go, yeah, usually people of that lifestyle have, like, pretty crazy reputations. I don't know. So I feel like maybe they have a group of people and they kind of keep it hush-hush and they do their own thing and don't really want the flack with it, you know what I mean? Like all the, controversy and people judging and blah, 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 you know what I mean?
Exactly.
The people who don't get it. So I at the same time I can see, yeah. And I mean, I feel like high society people do stuff like that. Like that movie 3 Millimeter with with Nicolas Cage, like
oh yeah,
that rich dude with the snuff film. He did it just because he had the money. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that stuff exists. I've watched documentaries on like snuff films, and I've seen like interviews with people, and they say like, yeah, people with money, there's this whole underground, very very hush hush secretive life that people pay outrageous amounts of money to have a video of have somebody abduct, rape, and kill a child, and they want it on film just so they can have it. And I've read and watched a lot of things on that kind of stuff. And I think with money, you can get, if you ask the right guy, you can get whatever you want.
Yep.
So I think it could exist, probably, yeah, for sure.
Let me see here. I wanted to tell you there was a documentary. I wrote it down here on my notes, but I could not remember what the name of it was. I watched it, but for whatever reason, I can't remember the name of it. It might be a documentary you might want to watch because it's about them selling art.
Is it like serial killer culture or whatever?
Yeah, and I think it's called The Collection or The Collector.
Collectors.
Collectors, yeah.
Yeah, I got that. With it's with Rick Stanton, and it's more focused on Wayne Henley, right?
There you go.
And the Dean Carroll. I've been dying to watch that movie, and I bought it last year and watched it finally for the first time because I guess you can get it on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
It's like to burn it. They just make it for you like right there, and they give it to you with the cover and everything. It's good. It definitely shows, because I mean I don't know if you've ever seen his artwork, but that guy is like, if he wasn't in jail, that guy would be big. Like his artwork is outrageously good, but it just shows how like there was people buying $500 paintings from him and then going out in the street and just breaking it and lighting it on fire because to prove a point that like this shouldn't be happening. And then there's an art gallery dedicated to it, so going to this building with walls covered by artwork by a serial killer. Just but that's a good one. Serial killer culture is really good too.
Yeah.
That one came out a few years ago too. It's got a lot of cool interviews with different sides of people, like collectors, people who collect and they're musicians or artists and stuff. I know Matthew Aronson, he's a pretty big collector. He's got the Last Dime Museum. His collection's pretty crazy. He has like a Richard Ramirez, the whole suit he got from Richard Ramirez's like wife that he wore at a court or something. Like he's got some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. That's a good little flick to catch too. It's really good.
What was it? Have you ever had? We're coming up on like the last three, so we're doing good. I just got a message from Jess. She's like, it starts at 9:30. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I thought it was 9. I thought it was 9. And she did.
Yeah, because I was like, that ship has sailed, I think.
No, we're good. We got enough time. What would you say that? I mean, have you ever had a moment or a scary moment with a collector, or vice versa, with someone that of a collection that you had or a letter you got from a killer where you just kind of like, where it freaked you out for a minute, whether it be, they threatened you or it seemed like they were threatening you, or just something about it seemed, your lizard brain kind of spoke up and said, whoa. Anything like that ever happened?
With like collectors, I find that they're all pretty like tight-knit group. We're all kind of there for each other. Yeah. There's a few little shitbags, and there's guys that kind of weasel their way into these Facebook groups that sell fakes and stuff. We're pretty good with like calling them out and kind of weeding those guys out. So I never got really too crazy with. I got into a little altercation with. Actually, it's all in one. So all in one fight. It was with a collector and a serial killer. So it was like a three-way. like a three-way match, like a pay-per-view event, and it was Ken Carney of Supernaut. I mean, he's a cool guy and all, and his site's great, but he can be kind of a wiener sometimes. But anyway, so I think it was just over a year ago, I was writing Philip Jablonski, who's questionable, and I think he swings both ways, because he's always asking, I mean, I've heard him asking other guys for pictures of them in their underwear and stuff, so I'm like, okay, so he's requesting pictures of guys from, like, Google, and I send him pictures, and then he starts asking them from me, and I was like, oh, well, like, no, and he gives me these examples of other people who did it, so I got these pictures in this letter of, like, other random men in their underwear, and I'm like, I don't need these, but I think, you don't have to send me an example, I know what this means. Like, yeah, send me under a picture, and here's a few examples. So I'm like, yeah, thanks, Phil. So I'm just like, okay, well, like, I'm not going to. So I just keep sending them, Google image pictures and stuff, models and other, like, pictures like that. So, and he started asking me for, like, he asked me these weird questions. Like, we played this, I know, something like game, I guess. Like, it is when you're a child. When you're an adult, it's just weird. But I usually do, like, the 10-question thing. I ask them 10 questions, and then, like, the inmate will write the answers and then their own 10 questions. That way you can kind of get a ball rolling. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you can get a lot to know in 10 questions, and then things spin off from there and little, So I was doing that, and he was asking weird things like, if I was ever released, would we do this and this? And I was like, oh, like, what? But I was like, well, this guy might give me, like, because he was sending me artwork and stuff, right? So I was like, well, if I just play along, maybe he'll send me some cool art and stuff. So, I didn't get into detail, but I was just like, oh, yeah, I would do that totally, something like that. Brief, right? Just to humor the guy, because sometimes if you boost these little guys up, and you make them putty in your hands, they'll send you whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
So, and I thought, yeah, he has some artwork and stuff, so whatever, like, get on his good side. So I do that, and then he's asking for, like, more pictures and tracings and stuff, and of, my genitals, and I'm like, well, no, like, that's too much. But then I thought, hell, I got that Jeremy Jones wiener picture, with the semen all over. So I traced that picture of Jeremy Jones' wiener on a paper. And I send it to Phil with my letter, and he gobbles it up. He loves it. No pun there. And he was talking to Ken, the collector, who runs Super 9. So one day I'm scrolling Instagram, and I see a picture. I see the wiener trace, and I gave to Phil on Ken's Instagram, and with this caption of something that was like, making fun, like stupid, like a couple of lines or something. I thought, oh, how the hell did he get that? You know what I mean? I was like, what? Didn't make sense. Because, like, what if that was really mine? What if I really was into that? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
How crazy. So I'm talking to Ken, and he's like, oh, it wasn't nothing. He just sent it, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, whatever. And we got in a little tiff, and then I wrote Phil a nice, nasty letter saying, like, look it, like, that wasn't even mine, first of all. And then Ken this. And there was a whole bunch of stuff. But I sent him a nasty, strong worded letter to Phil, and I never replied back to anything else he ever sent me. And it was kind of like a three-way thing. And I've been in a couple of scuffles with that Ken guy because he kind of is a softy, like, I don't know. He's kind of a child trapped in a man's body, so he gets on people's nerves a lot. But yeah, so that was it, because Philip, he's a weird guy, but when he first got locked up for a murder way back when, he was released, and he killed one of his pen pals, and his mom or something, or her mom or whatever, but so I was like, oh man, if this guy was ever released, which he's not going to be, but it's just funny that, like, I ticked that guy off, right, the one who killed a pen pal before, so I'm like, all I need is this guy to escape, freaking book it over to good old Canada, and, hack me into a bunch of bits, and,
Well,
like,
it would be a matter of public record, so they would be the first person that they looked at.
I know, that's it. But I thought it was a little scary to get it, because my girlfriend's like, why did you have to send him the why did you have to yell him in a letter? Like, you can't do that. He's a killer. I was like, well, I was upset.
You do things when you're upset.
I should have wrote the letter and slept on it for a couple of days and went, oh, well, it's okay. Water under the bridge. But I didn't. I sent it out. Yeah, there was no cool-off point walking all the way to the post office. There was no cool-off point. I said, I'm sending this letter today. I've had enough.
There are people, it's funny because everybody's always like, write an angry letter and don't send it, and then you'll know how you feel the next day when you sleep on it and give it like a week. And then it's so funny because because I've done that one time before with an actual pen pal. She was over and she moved over to Italy, and I had sent her a letter, and I was so mad when I sent her the letter, and the next day I thought about what I had said. I felt bad, so I sent a retroactive letter. I said, ignore that first letter you got. I meant to sleep on it and then send it.
That's hilarious. I slept on it. That was a different person. That's hilarious. Oh, my God. Yeah, that happens. You got to sleep on it, but unfortunately, I just wrote
it gives you badass points, so I will say that.
It does. I mean, I guess. Oh my, that's really the only time, though. I mean, most of them are pretty easygoing. I mean, you just got to read them. Some of them don't like the murderabilia, where you don't mention it because they'll cut you right off, or you know what I mean. But for the most part, it's pretty good. It's like talking to anybody else on the street, but via paper. But I mean, it's not. You just gotta watch what you say. Sometimes some of them get a little upset.
I gotcha. It's normal though.
It is.
My last question for you. Do you have an item or something you've been searching for that you wish you could have for your collection, or something that you've just wanted, something that if you had to stop, if you just had to have one item to cap it off right before you were going to be done doing it, what would be this last item? Kind of like, they say, what would be your last meal or the last thing that you want to do? That one particular item, what would it be?
That's a toughie. It's probably going to be a tie between a Dahmer and Bundy letter because I go, because those are like, those two cases really stuck out. Like that's like one of the when I started getting into like serial killers, like when I was 16, like, obviously you find out the bigger notorious ones, first, and those cases were just, I don't know, they really stuck with you. They're really on into the deep end there. But it would be nice to get like a little letter or a document with a full Ted Bundy signature or like a Dahmer card. They don't come around often, and when they do, they're sky high. But those two, and Gacy was one, but I finally got one in a trade, which thank goodness, because it's one left down, But I would definitely say a Bundy or a Dahmer piece. I mean, I got a Dahmer brick from the apartment before, the Oxford apartments before they were demolished, which is kind of cool. But I mean, it's more personal, obviously, when you're getting something handwritten and signed.
And that's a big part of like we discussed before, a big part of history. Because I had actually at one point I was going to reach out to that detective who had interviewed him for a long time, but I found out later that he passed. Which really stunk because he liked doing interviews and stuff like that. He was very talkative, very cool, laid back, chill guy.
Yeah. That dude with the mustache, the detective?
Yeah.
He died?
Yeah, he passed away.
Oh, did he? I don't think I knew that. I just watched the Jeffrey Dahmer files, because for some reason I heard it was garbage, but then I just put it on like YouTube a couple days ago and I loved it. It was good.
It was not bad. I watched it, and the guy was pretty funny. And when I watched the thing later, and I looked up on him because I was gonna send him an email. I found out that he had passed away. Which is a really tragic story because it was the last case he worked was that case, and then his wife left him.
Yeah, he mentions that in the thing. Yeah, it sounded like he went kind of.
Yeah, he started drinking a lot of alcohol.
Downhill, yeah, but hell of a mustache though.
Yep. Yeah, he did.
It's weird. Did you watched it then, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah,
the guy looks like a guy that I used to work with who passed away. His name was Steve, and he had this big, thick mustache like that. He kind of looked like the guy, and the guy used to work for undercover. He was an undercover cop for many years. So
really?
I was like, my God, they looked exactly like they could have been twins.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that guy seemed like he would be a cool guy to interview for sure, though.
I was also gonna interview, since you like Bundy. I was also gonna interview his best friend Ann Rule, the one that he worked with. I was gonna interview her, and then she passed away a couple of years.
Did you keep in contact with her, or?
I sent a letter out, and I didn't get anything back. Finally, I got something back from one of her daughters saying that she had passed, and I should have looked it up before I went and did it. I didn't know that she had passed because I just read The Stranger Beside Me, and I'm like, okay, I love this book. It was really good, very tragic story. I'm like, it was just a tragic story, and I was like, well, I'd like to reach out to see if she'd be willing just to answer a couple questions. She doesn't have to do an interview on the show, but even just to send her a couple questions in email and get something back is cool. And then I got that back saying that she passed. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, that's a bummer, eh?
So I was like, and she was a great writer anyway. She wrote like, oh, my God.
Yeah, The Green River Killer, too, she wrote, and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, I read The Stranger Beside Me 2 years ago in the summertime. It was a great book.
Yeah. And she
really good.
Apparently she's been writing, I guess, for years. And after I learned more about her and everything like that, I was like, wow, okay, so she wrote tons of stuff.
Quite the catalog.
Yep.
Speaking of Bundy, I know you were talking about like in the beginning with the demolition of the houses and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But when Bundy escaped, I think the second time, when he went to Ann Arbor, Michigan, and he stayed the night there, those places are still up because I found the pub he went to and watched the Michigan game. I went there, I think, 2 summers ago. And then the YMCA, he stayed overnight. It's not a YMCA anymore, but the building's still there. It's like an office.
Yeah.
So those are still there, and it was kind of cool. Like I went to the pub, and I thought, oh yeah, like it's kind of cool to know that like he sat there and blended in while he's one of the worst serial killers ever, and he's hanging out with a bunch of students. Like nobody knows who he is. It's kind of a crazy situation. But I just stared inside there and I thought, oh geez, like if people only knew he was there,
Mhm. I
But
think
yeah, those places are up. But I mean, not that it was anything crazy, but I forgot to mention it that like there's a few places that you can still kind of visit that are kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, that would be definitely one. I know the one that is on my bucket list that I definitely want to visit is, it's still up and standing, and they made a whole season of American Horror Story about it. But the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, that they based American Horror Story Hotel, season 5, where they had this big collective scene, and they had this thing where it was kind of a offshoot of H.H. Holmes Hotel, like, Evan Peters played a guy that looked a lot like, or could have been, H.H. Holmes, except he was had like this Clark Gable kind of feel to him.
Yeah.
And he died, so he was a ghost. But they did this thing called Devil's Night, where on Halloween night, all the past serial killers, whoever visited the place and knew him, because he apparently mentored them when they would stop by at the hotel, they kind of played that off, because at that time, the story about the Cecil Hotel, Gacy did stay there at one point, years later, but only for a night, and not just him, but Richard Ramirez stayed there for, like, quite a while. He actually even killed 2 residents there at the Cecil Hotel.
Yeah, I do remember reading that part. I didn't know it was the Gacy, though. That's kind of interesting, eh?
Yeah, I think, and I remember when I was reading the article, it was very briefly, like, it was like for a night, and then that was it.
Yeah.
So, and then I think one more person. But then they had that whole scene where, as soon as I saw the guy in the beginning, when they had the opening scene, there's a guy who comes strolling on in. He's got this badass leather jacket, and his hair is like perfectly, long and back, and he's got these sunglasses on. I said, damn it, that guy doesn't kind of look like Richard Ramirez. So he signs the guest book, and she goes, the guy at the front, he goes, oh my gosh, Mr. Ramirez, welcome back. And he takes off his glasses and said, holy crap.
Oh,
yep,
so
there he is.
right.
So I didn't know
that.
Cool. Well, I mean, and then the rest of the episode it showed Eileen Wuornos, Jeffrey Dahmer was there, the Zodiac Killer showed. Of course, they didn't show his face, but he was inside his whole ensemble.
Yeah, his hood.
His hood, yeah. So they were all there, and they all ate dinner. They would eat dinner together and talk and, like, laugh, and that was apparently the night that they could all hang out together. And I just thought that was fascinating to kind of see that whole episode, because that was right as I just started getting into doing the podcasting about them.
Yeah.
And the characters that got to portray them, it was kind of perfect, because they did all really look like them, and they acted like how you thought they would act. If you didn't meet them in person.
Right. Yeah.
Stuff,
That's awesome.
But yeah, that would be one place I would like to visit, is the Cecil Hotel. I heard that place is, like, notorious for being a creepy spot. Like, one girl drowned. There's really the famous video footage of her in an elevator.
Yeah, her.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I wanted to do some, like, research on that, because I remember seeing it in the news and stuff, and on Facebook, and then I just saw something again, like a couple months ago, and I thought, I want to do some really heavy reading into that, because that's such a bizarre story.
It really is. Like, the whole
what was that lady's name? Something Lamb? Was it? Or
something Lamb. And
Lisa Lamb, was it? Or something like that?
Lisa Lamb, yeah, I think so.
But yeah, it's a bizarre footage, eh? And just then she's in the water tank on the top of the roof, like...
Yeah, like, and after, in moments before, she was, like, going in and out of the elevator, looking like she was talking to somebody, but nobody was there.
Yeah.
So the place is twisted, and they think it's really haunted. But, it's just one of those places that I'd like to go and visit, just to kind of do a story there and, see what it's all about. But that's the only place that, I really hardcore wanted to go to.
Yeah, I thought of doing that, too. It's funny, because you were talking about the place, and I was like, I think this is the place, but I can't remember the name of it. But then when you said the Lisa, or whatever her name is, when you said that part, I was like, that's what it is, that hotel. Yeah, I know. When I read about it, too, I thought the same. I thought that's somewhere that I wouldn't mind taking a little visit to, for sure.
Yeah, see. I mean, and it's apparently it's really nice. They renovated it, and it's a decent
I'm sure. I'm sure it is, but it's just the history, right? It's kind of
history is really twisted. Yeah. So I mean, they get a lot of look-seers and people come in and do interviews and things like that. And the rates, they got the rates. Like, you can type in Cecil Hotel, Los Angeles, California, and look up rates, and you can see what the rates are. They got them right up there. I think it's like $175 a night. Like,
Oh, it's not even that bad, eh?
It's really not that bad. Like, it's just you getting there would be a pain in the butt, but once you're there, you could sightsee and everything and stay there at the hotel.
Yeah, absolutely. Make a whole trip out of it.
Exactly.
That's awesome, though. Yeah.
Well, I think we are good, Peter, and actually it's perfect because we're going to pretty much head on out of here. We got 15 minutes, so it's perfect.
Beauty.
Thank you so much for doing this interview. It was great talking to you.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you back on sometime.
For sure.
But yeah, thank you so much for answering all the questions and everything. I hope you
thanks for having me out of all the sea of weirdos that collect this stuff, I stood out. I was a gem.
You did. I was glad that we struck a friendship. So I hope that continues. And
for sure.
Anytime you chat and if you find anything cool, let me know. But yeah, I'll definitely hit you back up for another interview sometime. I'll let you know as soon as this is all edited and up. Hopefully by Monday night it should be up and rolling, so you'll be good to go.
That's great, man. I can't wait to hear it.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Cool, man.
All right. Well, you have the rest of a great night. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you later, Peter.
Okay. Take it easy. Enjoy your movie.
Will do.
Okay.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Wow. Just a great episode. I mean, I loved talking to Peter. He was a very nice guy, and I want to thank him again for being on the show. Hope to have him back again. Like with all my people who come on and let me interview them and stuff, I'd love to have them back. So I'm super excited. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I'm going to cover a couple things now. That talk about either murderabilia or serial killers, things that you might want to check out yourself to listen to, watch, or read. If you guys are interested in the episode we just did about killer culture and murderabilia, you should watch an interesting movie. It's called Collectors by Julian Hobbs. It's a documentary, for serial killers, as far as art goes and people collecting it. So it's pretty interesting. It was a good. If you guys are interested in movies and TV shows about serial killers, I'll name off a couple. Hannibal, Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs. That's all good series. Scream, the TV series, as far as it's on Netflix. Pretty good. I liked it. As far as the Scream movies go, of course, there's always them. Dexter is a good one if you're interested in in that sort of thing. I liked it. I thought it was a very riveting series. The Following with Kevin Bacon, pretty cool. Frailty, good movie. Slasher, that's not a lot of people know about that series. It's on Netflix. You should watch it if you haven't seen it. It's pretty good. Very gory, but pretty good. I liked it. The Fall. A lot of people don't know about this one either. That has Gillian Anderson in it and the guy, I can't remember his name, but he's the guy who plays Mr. Grey in the 50 Shades of Grey movies, apparently, which I didn't know, which is kind of funny now because he does play a killer who strangles people, and he kind of does that in the movie. He's in all the kinky stuff, so I was like, oh, crap, that kind of makes sense to me now. But also, really good series. You should watch it. Psycho and Bates Motel. Bates Motel just ended, sadly, but it was very good. I liked it. Psycho, all the movies were really good, but the books, definitely. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's one of the originals, really good. American Horror Story, I feel like, is one that it doesn't get a whole lot of mentions. It doesn't always completely cycle around serial killers. It has them in it. Although I will say season 5, yeah, American Horror Story Hotel did it. It was the Seven Commandments killer. Yeah, that was a good one. Interesting story on that one too. So, and as far as books, there of course is The Most Evil, that whole series by Steve Hodel, which is the guy that I interviewed a couple episodes back. Good book. Very good books. Sniper. That one's about the DC snipers. That one's pretty good. This one's a fictional rather than a true crime type of one. It's actually a good series, though. It's called Heartsick. That's right. The Heartsick series. There's a bunch of them. The first one is entitled Heartsick, and it's about Gretchen Lowell, a female serial killer that is kind of the equivalent of Hannibal Lecter. pretty good. I got engrossed in the books and bought the entire series on Amazon after I read the first one. I liked it. They were good. The characters were, very broad, and they were memorable. And I heard somewhere that they were thinking about doing a TV show. I don't know what the deal is with that. That was like years ago. I don't know if they're doing it or not going to do it, like what the deal is, but that's what the deal is, that they're supposed to be doing one. So, another good one is the Dexter book series, because they do differ. The first book is kind of the first season. It differs on a few things, but for the most part, it's all the same. The characters, it was cool introducing them and all that stuff, so you get to see them grow differently in the book, and different cases that are in the books that necessarily aren't in the shows. So that's pretty good. Stranger Beside Me, that was a really good one. That's by Ted Bundy's good friend, Anne Rule. May she rest in peace. I really wish that I had gotten to interview her. I think that would have been an interview of a lifetime. But the book is really good. Definitely check it out. If you didn't know, Ted Bundy had a good friend named Anne Rule, and they met each other while he was working in a crisis clinic, where they would take phone calls from people who were wanting to commit suicide, and he helped save lives right there beside her. Very tragic story. Definitely should read it. There's a couple of things that I'll go ahead and say that I actually do have in my collection. A couple of creepy things. I actually have an original 1957 newspaper with Ed Gein article in it. He's one of the ones that they based the Psycho movies off of, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I've got that framed up on my wall. It was a whole thing, and I don't know if you've ever seen these newspapers back then, but they were huge. So I had to get like this huge thing to frame it, and it was and I didn't want to take just the article out, so I framed the whole thing and just kind of flipped to the article and then framed it like that. But it was in great condition. I bid for it online and got it for almost next to nothing, which is crazy, because now when I put it up on one of the websites to show that I had it, I wasn't planning on selling it, but the amount of offers that I got for this thing, whoa, a lot of money, like in the thousands. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to sell it. Well, I mean, I just don't feel right selling it, I also have a piece of hair from Arthur Shawcross, who's a serial killer. I didn't really go looking for it, but it came in some of the stuff that Peter sent me, which I thought was really cool. But I just I thought that would be interesting to you guys to kind of just get a couple of things to actually see and read and to hear about. And so I hope you guys did enjoy the episode of Killer Culture. I had fun, and I hope you guys are interested in our next segments we got coming up. I think the next one we're going to do is called The Evil Woman, or The Evil Women. Would probably be the other one, but I'm going to call it The Evil Woman just because of that great song, The Evil Woman, do-do-do-do-do-do. By Electric Light Orchestra, in case you guys don't know that, who I'm singing very terribly to. So that one's going to kind of cover women who play killers, serial killers, or psychopaths in popular media. I won't say who I'm gonna have on the show. It won't, I will tell you this. I did reach out to an actress. I know it sounds far-fetched. The only thing that happened, her agent said that she was more than happy to do it, but it kind of conflicted with the time scale that I wanted to have it on. So I might have her in a later episode at some point, just to kind of talk to her about some stuff. I won't tell you who she is, just, for the sake of, if I don't get her later, I don't seem like, oh, well, I lied. But it was really cool to reach out and ask her if she would be on the show, just to talk about a character she played in a TV series. But if I can't have her, I've got somebody else lined up, so I'm super excited to maybe try that out. And the one after that, I want to do personality profiles with Dr. Nighting again. We'll have her back. And then I'm thinking about having Dr. Maurice Godwin come back on the show, which I think will be pretty cool. It'd be nice to hear back from him. I know he's been out in the spotlight recently because of the the Terra case and everything going on. So it'll be nice to have him back on the show and talk to him for a little bit. And then we'll wrap up with the finale episode, which is, like I said, going to be a big one. That one's going to take a couple months, though. I'm working on it right now. So that particular case is... it's a big one. I can't tell you who it is. I'm so excited, though, to do the finale episode because it's going to be... or the season finale that I'm talking about. We'll have probably like a month or two break in between the season finale before we start something new again, or maybe even 3, just so I can get ahead of myself. I don't get ahead of myself, so I can take some time to get into a couple of new episodes aired for you guys. I wanted to keep saying the same old stuff for you, for your listeners out there. So for newcomers, I hope that you guys are enjoying the episodes. I'm sorry if I seem long-winded when I talk a lot. I just feel like I have a lot to say. Curse of being a journalist, I guess. I do hope you guys can hear everything I'm saying clearly. I did get new equipment, so hopefully it sounds good. And I just hope you guys are enjoying the content. And if you guys have any questions or concerns or anything you'd like to have me cover, please feel free to reach out. I got all my information on our website. Go to our website, check it out. If you guys, want to... if you guys are just interested in reading up some other stuff, there's some articles I've done on there. I did an article on the Long Island serial killer, and I actually interviewed the guy Peter Brandt, who appeared on that show, The Killing Season, on A&E, that documentary series they were doing about the Long Island serial killer. Sorry, I can't talk. And he reached back out and he gave us like what his personal preferences on the profile were. And that was pretty cool. So definitely check out the article. It was really cool. I enjoyed it. And if you guys don't know our website, it's https, the little semicolon // but it's basically just profilematters.wordpress.com. That's profilematters.wordpress.com. So definitely go to the website. It's got some, biographies and stuff on me, Jess, and some of my team, and extra articles, maybe a couple episodes you guys didn't actually hear. It's pretty cool, but it's got an area on there that you can always send questions to, and it'll go straight to my email. So, and I will definitely respond. Not one of those people just say, hey, look at the email. I don't know if you guys have ever commented on any of the stuff that I have on here, but I reply back. So feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I hope you guys had a great time tonight on Killer Culture and on Profile Matters, and I hope that we get to have you guys back on here listening again for the next exciting episode of Profile Matters. All right, guys, thank you so much, and have a great night. Bye-bye.